Today, I'm going to give you the 3 common mistakes people make when looking for software jobs. Finding a software job can be very stressful and time-consuming. And that's why I was glad to write the book, Breaking the Code, to give you those 5 essential steps that will help you in your interview process. So pick up a copy of Breaking the Code at Amazon or any other major outlet. So the first mistake that I see developers make when interviewing for software jobs is they don't have a portfolio of business-based projects. Now, a lot of developers are working at a company, say you've been working somewhere for 3 to 5 years, and all of your experience is what I would call behind the firewall, or you can't really show it to anyone because it's some kind of intellectual property concerns, or it's not easily available for you to show.
This is top secret, right?
So the other scenario is you're just coming out of college or your boot camp, or you're coming out of a learning session where you've been online learning and you don't have any experience to show. So you need, in all cases, to have a business-based project that you can demonstrate during the interview process. Now, what do I mean by business-based project? It needs to have 3 basic criteria. Number 1, it must hit a database. And that means that there's information about the application is stored inside of a back-end database. That can be in SQL, Mongo, whatever you want to do there, but it must hit a database. The second thing it must do is implement security. That means an authorization and authentication scheme, and what I would call role-based security or claims-based security, meaning that your permissions differ based on your login. The third thing that it must do is it must solve a recognizable business problem. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, we have a very popular video, the One Coding Project Guaranteed to Get You a Job. And in that video, we tell you to build a bug tracker. And you may ask, why a bug tracker? Because when you're interviewing for a job and you show them this project, the person can instantly recognize, oh, I know what that's supposed to do. And when they know what it's supposed to do, they can better evaluate your skill level. If you show them something else that they don't know what it's supposed to or how it's supposed to function, it makes it very hard to evaluate whether it's good or bad. So build a business-based project that solves a recognizable business problem, implement security, and implement a back-end database. And you'll be well on your way to getting that first software job. So the second mistake that I see is that candidates assume that the hiring manager or the HR actually read their resume, and they go to the interview with that preconceived notion they know everything about me, and so they never mention their work experience. For example, let me read you a post on LinkedIn from a former Microsoft employee, and it details his experience in interviewing. Check this out. After 3 years at Microsoft, I applied for a new position on a different team within the company. I went through the same interview process a hire from the outside the company goes through. A few days later, I got a response, no hire. I'm always looking to improve, so I asked for feedback. Their response, does not know how to optimize code for performance. I was stunned. Apparently, the optimization I did in a contrived example on a whiteboard wasn't good enough. They completely ignored my resume. They completely ignored what I had actually accomplished in real life in favor of 10-minute in front of the whiteboard. Here's what my resume said about my ability to optimize code. Conducted performance analysis and re-architected thread synchronization and caching of zip file extraction in the Windows OS. Resulted in a 20x performance improvement, saving the world billions of hours waiting for folders to unzip. Everyone in the world opens and extracts zipped files. My work back in 2005 improved performance of unzipping files by 20x. What used to take 2 minutes now takes 6 seconds. My work has saved the world over 200,000 people years. For goodness sake, read an applicant's resume and do them the courtesy of actually asking about their work experience. Now, think about this. You work for Microsoft. You have all of this grand experience, and they put you in front of a whiteboard interview, and you don't perform what they think is acceptable. Now, obviously, this person has a lot of skills. What he should have done was done the whiteboard interview and then sat down and said, well, let's talk about the things that I've done. You see this here in Windows Explorer? I'm going to unzip a file. I did that. In fact, I did it so well that what used to take 2 minutes now takes 6 seconds. I can tell you right now, that's boom, drop the mic moment, because he basically demonstrated what he did on a real product. Now, let's say that you didn't work for Microsoft and you don't have any experience. You're just coming out of a coding boot camp. You don't have any experience on your resume to point to, or you have 3 to 5 years of experience to point through, and you're a very talented coder, but everything you've done, you really can't demonstrate because it's some behind the firewall application. This is where your portfolio back in step 1 comes in. You need to show them a piece of software that works, okay? And once you do that, then you can talk about your experience. Don't assume that they've read your resume or there's been a link to your portfolio in your resume or that you had some great experience working at company ABC, that they've read that. They probably haven't. A lot of hiring managers may get 8 to 10 resumes that they're looking through, and they're interviewing 8 to 10 people during that interview process. They simply haven't had the time to review your resume, and that's okay.
Too busy for you.
You need to tell them about your resume and then demonstrate it with your software. So don't assume that they've read it. Talk about your skills, talk about your experience, and please demo that project. This is a sales process, not an interview. Demo your projects. All right, the third mistake I see is that your follow-up game is very weak. And so what you do is you apply for a job or you've had an interview and you wait for a callback, you wait for a notification, and you never reach back out to the customer. Now, here's what you should do during the interview process. After you've demoed your project and you've answered all the questions, and they probably say, is there anything or any questions that you could ask us or anything you would like to know? And you'd say, well, the best thing I would like to know right now is, who do I call if I want to follow up to see how I did in the interview? So even if you don't select me, I would like to get feedback so that I can improve in the future. Is there an email or a phone number or a person that I should reach out to for follow-up? And usually when you ask in that professional, nice way, they'll give you an email address or they'll give you the name of the person that you want to follow up with. Now, let's say that you've entered in an application at a company, you applied on Indeed.com, and you've sent a blind application out there. You need to go to LinkedIn and start doing your homework. Find the company, find the person that would be hiring them. And then after you've applied, email HR, email the director of development or the hiring manager or the tech lead, whoever that is, and try to find that contact and email them and call them until you get a no. Now, what you should also be doing is working with recruiters. See, what's unknown about recruiters is recruiters will do the follow-up for you. And so they're following up with these employers to make sure that you can get a yes or no out of somebody. So your follow-up game has to be very on point for you to find a job. Now, what I do is I sometimes track this process in what we call a can board. And a can board would have like a 4-step process where the applications that you've applied to, either through a recruiter or in person through like Indeed or whatever. The second step that you want to track is how many times did I get an interview request? So you label all your interview requests in there, and then you track your follow-ups in there to see, did I send them an email? Did I call back? And you want to reach out maybe 5 to 6, 7 times per job in order to get that first software job. And then finally, you'll track your offer stage. If you go through this process and interview enough or apply enough, you'll actually get a software job. And I forgot to mention the extra special bonus tip in finding a job. What I see a lot of people do, and a mistake they commonly make, is when they go through the interview process and it doesn't work out like they expect. Maybe the employer doesn't reach back to them, they ghost them, maybe they never give them feedback, they never acknowledge that they got the application, and what they immediately do is to go to social media and rip the company's hiring process. What I want you to do, even if it's valid and even if it's warranted, I don't want you to do that, because what that does is that can scare away other potential employers from even interviewing you, because you may rip them on social media too. And companies are very skittish about their reputations online. So what you can do to make yourself look good is always thank a company for their time. So even if you do want to go to Twitter, thank them for their time and their consideration always, and at them on Twitter. Never rip into them. It makes you look better as a candidate. And also you may get someone else that would love to interview you because of the way you treated someone else. So that's 3 common mistakes I see software developers make during the interview process. And there can be many, many more. And we'll talk about those more in an upcoming video. But anyway, I hope this helps. Good luck and keep coding.